Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Friday's edition of the Midday Brief. My name is Nia Krofi Smartabe. Coming up in this particular edition of the Midday Brief, today is World Press Freedom Day, in case you didn't know. So we've been finding out from journalists what the day means to them. Plus, of course, we'll get a real-life experience on what journalists go through daily to gather information for you, our discerning viewers. President John Mahama will inaugurate the first phase of the Bui hydroelectric power project at Bui in the Brong-Ahafo region today. We'll get some update for you from our correspondent covering that particular beat. And also, the police in Wa have arrested 6 people, including 2 women, for allegedly attempting to traffic some 25 children to Burkina Faso for ritual purposes. We have these, plus some wellness and briefs coming up. Stay with us. In our first story, Executive Officer of the Millennium portfolio, Dr. Charles Rekubrobe, has lashed out at the media for failing to discharge their responsibilities adequately. According to him, the struggle to liberalize the Ghanaian media was not easy, yet the media is failing to make the most of this freedom to fully execute its watchdog role in society and are rather in bed with government, much to the disadvantage of the masses. He also chastised the National Media Commission, the Ghana Journalists Association and the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association for looking on while the media and journalists are attacked by government. Dr. Rekubrobe made the comment when he delivered a public lecture ahead of the commemoration of World Press Freedom Day.
The government assumed the right to allocate frequencies under the NCA Act, which control has been used in subtle and not so subtle forms to threaten stations deemed as bad boys or girls in the eyes of the government. The most recent examples of this shadowy executive control have been the threat that was made to Joy FM in the run-up to last year's elections, and the ongoing saga of the crude interference with the broadcast frequency of Oman FM, a development that I find even more disturbing and distasteful because of the eerie silence of the Media Commission, the GJ, the Ghana, GIBA. If the bodies that are to protect independence of the media will not speak up when Oman FM is being attacked, it is a thin edge of the wedge. Ghana's media is falling into the danger of uncontrollable and arrogant collaborators of the rulers against the personal and collective interests of the people. The fourth estate of the realm has now become bedfellows of one of the estates of the realm.
Well, he also touched on how pluralism has contributed to the development of the country, especially in the political season.
As I give this lecture, Ghana has, according to what information I got from the National Communications Authority yesterday, 257 radio stations, 16 TV stations, with another 8 TV stations licensed and waiting to start. So we moved from one monotonous FM from November 19th to 257 FM stations. So this quite amazing pluralism offers wide array of choice and divergent content and opinions. Indeed, it has been established in a recent study that more than 87% of the people of Ghana get their political news, information, and education from radio and TV. This was one of the precepts for the establishment of Radio Eye, because we believe that the population, which was largely illiterate, needed something that they could access fairly easily. So in this respect, the vision that inspired the architects of Radio Eye to risk their personal freedoms for their action in offering Ghanaians the opportunity to hear and assess competing views and ideas about how the various political parties will turn the juicy promises of manna from heaven into real and uplifting changes in socio-economic conditions if voted to power in the 1996 elections. These have been more than amply fulfilled. So for those of you who remember the frequency we broadcast on, 96.2 was 1996, the second elections under the fourth constitution of the Republic of Ghana, because we believed that if we really wanted people to get choice, then the preponderance of independent broadcasting stations will be the vehicle that will propel that choice.
But before the lecture started, Ambassador Cabral Blay Amihie, who is the chairman of the National Media Commission, expressed disappointment at the patronage of the lecture, which was intended to chart the way forward for media freedom.
What we are seeing today, look at the gathering, is a reflection of where this country has reached. We do not seek light, but darkness. We are more interested in fun than, things of the mind. Dr. Brubias, I know him, is a fun-loving person. When he used to live at Roman Ridge, North Ridge, we had good times there. So if it was a question of celebrating his birthday by throwing a party, you could have thrown the biggest party in the land. But he thought that at 60, he should use the occasion to reflect on his life, career, and contribution to the nation. And if you look at the seriousness of the subject, you expect that many of the people who want to comment on national issues will be here. You expect that many of the beneficiaries of his sacrifices will be here. But here we are, not too many. But I take consolation in the fact that the good book says that where a few are gathered, there he shall be, and the message can still go forth. So I charge those of you here to carry the message that we are about to listen to this evening.
Well, that was Cabral Blay Amihie, chairman of the National Media Commission, not particularly enthused about patronage for yesterday's lecture, but still in the spirit of World Press Freedom Day. Ghana today celebrates World Press Freedom Day to also celebrate the work of the media. The day set aside by the UN to also raise awareness of the importance of freedom of the press. This is to remind governments of their duty to respect and uphold the right to freedom of expression enshrined under Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This year's theme is Safe to Speak, Securing Freedom of Expression in All Media. Information and Media Relations Minister Mahama Ayariga has assured that government will not fail in its bid to uphold the freedom of the press. The Media Foundation for West Africa, MFWA, has meanwhile indicated the state of press freedom in the region, while commendable, has been rather gradual. According to MFWA, West African governments who remain intolerant to press freedom, both online and offline, and who continue to repress the media, are of prime concern. The foundation has thus called on all West African governments to respect and safeguard free expression, both online and offline, in their respective countries. MFWA also called on all journalists and media practitioners to be professional in the discharge of their duties while upholding the ethos of the profession. So, as I told you earlier, we'll get to go into more details about the day, and I've been joined in the studio by one of my colleagues in the newsroom, Emmanuel Ante, to share with us some of his experiences in the line of news coverage and gathering information for you, our discerning viewers out there. Good afternoon to you, Ima, and thanks for joining me.
Good afternoon, Ismail.
Okay, so today's World Press Freedom Day, and of course we are celebrating ourselves if nobody else would. So let's get to talk a bit about your work in the newsroom as a journalist yourself. How difficult or easy is it for you to gather information on a daily basis when you are reporting on a particular story?
Well, comparing today to previous years when the world press freedom in Ghana here was a major problem, where soldiers were chasing journalists, beating journalists for trying to get information to the general public. Now you can say it's a bit better, at least logistic-wise, it's not that we are not up there yet, but what we have now, especially at multimedia, at least is something to write home about. But sometimes the getting information from the general public or from government or other institutions that matter to disseminate that information to the general public, it's always a challenge. I'll say that the inability of Parliament to pass the right information bill is also another major contributory factor, because you go to a government personnel or you go to an institution fishing for information to be able to feed the general public with the right information. You go there and then you have to go through the bureaucracy. Go here, come there, you have to fill this, you have to fill that. And all these things delay your time, and sometimes you are not even able to get your information.
Do you face that same situation in Parliament, because you are a parliamentary correspondent as well? So apart from covering the day's sitting, when you're trying to get extra information, do you have to still go through the same bureaucracy you're talking about? Or it's easier with you in Parliament than other places?
Yeah, I'll say with Parliament it's a bit okay, but it is not that okay, because Parliament is even worse, because you have to go through stringent measures before you can get to one information. And even giving out the information to you, the journalist, is always a problem, because the trust that the parliamentarians have, they always seem to misconstrue what you say, or what they might tell you, you might misconstrue it to be something else, and then you might give the wrong information. But what they are forgetting to know, or what they are forgetting to realize, is that giving the right information to the right person rather saves them the time and energy. I mean, you have to go through some security measures, some difficult measures before you can get just a little information. Even with that, it is not forthcoming like it should. You will not get the full information, the full length of that information that you need for your story. And so it's very difficult. It's been very, very difficult, very, very hard. But we are trying to manage the situation. It's out of the love of the job, the passion we have for the job. That is what makes us go in deep. Even though the information is not coming, we do as much as we can to get all that we need for the general public to be able to enjoy, or to be informed and then entertained.
Earlier you spoke about the dark days of journalism, if you like, where journalists were chased all over the place, which draws my attention to last year's experience you had covering the election. You were attacked by a mob. What happened?
I can tell you that is the worst day of my life, and it's also the best day of my life. That is how I put it.
Somewhat like a bittersweet experience.
Yes. The worst day, because I nearly died. I almost died. But for God, and then a taxi driver who had compassion for me and stopped his taxi right in the middle of the road for me to be able to run and grab the door, just the door of the taxi. It's just a foot and then my head that went into the taxi, and then he took off. But for that, I would have lost my life. But now it has left me with a permanent injury, which is my back. Now I cannot stand for too long without trying to get somewhere or a breathing space. I have to wear a belt to be able to sustain me, to be able to sit well, or to stand well, or to stand for a longer time. This has always been a problem for me. Now I'm having problem with even picking something from the ground in case I am in the house alone and something falls on the ground. I go through difficult moments to get it. It is sweet because it is very sweet because at least I was able to do what I wanted to do at that point.
But so has that in a way affected how you see your profession now, how you go about your duties as a journalist?
Well, it hasn't. It did in the initial stages, but for the passion I had for the job, or I have for the job, that brought me back to what I wanted to do and what I want to do the most. And it took me back because I was afraid of what might happen again the next time I tried getting information. Because with the incident you are talking about, I was only nearly covering a demonstration by a political party who was organizing that, the MPP to be precise, at the Obra Sport. And
when the incident
happened.
Okay.
And it was all because I was doing my job. And it's really disturbing, but I mean, it's the hazards
I think we all have our fair
associated
share
with
of stories to tell when it comes to that. But let's go back again to Parliament from where you report. And I know there are times that you've probably stumbled on some rather sensitive information or exclusive as it is. And of course, as our jobs as media people, we are expected to, sometimes there's a competition, so you expect that you put it out first, but you've sat on that information, so to speak, because of the relationship you probably have with whoever gave the information to you. Where do you, as a journalist, see, where do you draw the line between, okay, I have a relationship with this person, so I don't put the information out, and this information is important for the public consumption. In spite of our relationship, I still have to put it out. Are you able to draw that line?
Of course, we do that a lot. I myself, I do that a lot. There are vital informations that we gather. Sometimes the best way to put out that information is to seek confirmation and clarification from the right source. You might have had that information from a member of probably a committee, let's say a committee, for instance, and then that member gave you an information. But the best source that for you to get the information is either the ranking member or the chairman of that particular committee. That has always been a problem. You get the information from the member, you go to the ranking member or the chairman, and the information is also different. In this case, it's always very difficult trying to put the story on air because you might not know who might be right and who might be wrong. So you try to hold on to the story just for a little bit to get more clarification. Even sometimes you have to go as far as going to the speaker himself. Even though it's always very difficult to get access to the speaker. But some of us, we have our ways, we have our links, and we have our ways of getting those that matter into the story. We have to go underground. There are times that, maybe I shouldn't say this, but there are times that you have to see some people off the scene or outside of the scene to be able to get that information. Some of those administrative staff who work for the parliament, sometimes we get the information from them, but you have to be tactical. I must put the information out. So sometimes we sit on the information just for a little bit. We don't think much of the relationship we have. You know, sometimes it's always good.
So you look more at the issue of the veracity,
thank you,
or the authenticity of the information
before you put it out.
Okay, Yimanolant is still with me in the studio. We'll continue our discussion in a bit. But of course, freedom of expression is a fundamental human right enshrined in Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is a cornerstone of good governance, sustainable development, and lasting peace and security. Yet, every day around the world, journalists and media workers are under attack. And Yima has told us about his incident already. They face intimidation, threats, and violence from governments, corporations, criminals, or other forces that wish to silence or censor them. The theme for this year's World Press Freedom Day is Safe to Speak, Securing Freedom of Expression in All Media, and it highlights the need for action to uphold the right of journalists to carry out their vital work, from traditional media platforms such as radio, print, and television to newer and more popular social media blogs and citizen-led reporting. Journalists are increasingly at risk. We've been speaking to some of our colleagues in the Inky fraternity on the issue, and let's find out what they've had to say about that.
Some journalists work for certain organizations where the owners of the organization have got their own interest. Okay, so sometimes it becomes difficult publishing certain things because it then goes against the owner of the business's quote-unquote business. So that too is a little bit of a challenge. Some of us have come up against certain things. Here and there. I don't think it's very good, and sometimes it's not like they will take a punitive measure against you, but then, even the way they will approach the whole thing is like, well, you shouldn't have even done it in the first. But you know, as a journalist, this is something that is of public interest, and in the public interest, that is what guides us as journalists.
If you don't pay the journalist, and you expect the journalist to give out information, so what kind of information do you expect him to give out to the public? So whilst we celebrate this day, it is important that those whose duty, Ghana Journalists Association, the National Media Commission, to ensure that the working conditions of journalists are improved to help our democracy. If not, then what I foresee is something that we cannot handle, to have a society where media freedom is high and yet they themselves are not financially free to operate. Anybody at all can take the person somewhere, give him some money, and put out any information that can bring the nation to a halt.
I think it recognizes the fact that a media person like me has to be able to freely add expression to my views, opinions about issues, and report without any fear of attacks from anyone, government, individuals, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so those were some opinions we gathered from our colleagues, our colleague journalists about World Press Freedom Day. And we're asking you on our Facebook page, facebook.com/joynews, that today is World Press Freedom Day. So do you think the media is talking too much? Are they doing their work? Or what do you think? Send us your comments. We'll read them. I'll take a few of your messages in a bit. But Yima, before I wrap up with you, as we commemorate World Press Freedom Day again today, what are your expectations? What do you expect to see from the media?
Well, I expect us to be more proactive this time and not to rather be partisan. Some of our media houses, some of the media houses we have in this country are associated with certain political parties. Sometimes working as a media person, working in that particular organization is always a problem. There is a challenge there because you might say something that might offend the owner of your network, which means that he is for party A. So if you're to put out a story that goes against party A, there's always a challenge there because then you're sometimes they don't come with punitive measures, but they will do things for you to feel uncomfortable working for your profession. So I think it's about time that we, the media, stand on our grounds and then try to put out the right information that is expected of us to rather put out that in the general public, so that, our work will be more appreciated, even though it's being appreciated now. And also, maybe let me put this point across, that it's about time our employers also help us out a bit. For journalists, our salary is nothing good to write home about, and to motivate a journalist and to get the best out of a journalist, the best thing to do is to motivate that particular journalist very well, so that he can forgo all the give me this, give me that, and then the right information rather will be put at the background, and then the correct one that is or the wrong information that is rather supposed to go out there is rather put on air. So I think this is what I think I am expecting from both the journalists and then our employers.
Okay, thank you very much. Imran Alante is my colleague in the Joy Newsroom, and he's been sharing his experiences with us here as we commemorate World Press Freedom Day. And to some of the comments you've posted on our Facebook wall already, Senam Pemley says the media is doing quite good, but the yellow journalism is too much. Francis Mensah says, actually at some point they have to shut down. Really, if we shut down, how are you going to be informed and educated? You never know. Well, Stella Yale says the media is doing very good and they are not to be shut down. Okay. Nellis Elon Blanco says these lousy local stations must be regulated. Okay, they just misinform the people who rather need more education about issues. Dennis Lawman says, why media men and their female, well, they are female journalists, so it's just, well, let me go back into history, but there are female journalists, so we can say media men and women. Okay, that satisfies you. No, Nsia Isaac says, no, they should allow them to work because they have a role to play in Ghana, and whoever steps on their right badly must be dealt with. Good work done. Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Of course, you can keep them coming. We'll get to read them here on the Midday Brief. But to some other stories now, President John Mahama would inaugurate the first phase of the Bui hydroelectric power project at Bui in the Brong Ahafo region the Bui Power Project, which will provide about 133 megawatts of power, started in April 2008 and is being financed by the governments of Ghana and China. So far, about $700 million has been spent on the project out of the total cost of $800 million, beg your pardon. So now let's get onto the phone lines and speak to Nesta Kafui Ajoma, who is our Brong-Ahafo regional correspondent, for some update for that story. Okay, well, I understand we don't have Nesta on the phone lines now, so we'll get back to him as soon as we're able to re-establish contact. But let's still do something else in the Brong-Ahafo region, because some youth of Boadan, a suburb of Wengie, in that particular Brong-Ahafo region, went on a peaceful demonstration against the Town and Country Planning Office in Wengie for its failure to follow the original site plan for Wengie, thereby allowing developers to block access roads.
The irate youth claim they do not understand why the Town and Country Planning Office has given out parcels of land to prospective developers without following the approved layout. This practice, according to them, has impeded rescue missions by the Ghana National Fire Service in the Wengie municipality. They made special references to a particular developer encroaching on an access road in the Boadan electoral area of Wengie. Abdul Latif is a convener of the demonstration. When contacted, the Wengie Municipal Town and Country Planning Officer Dominic Yaupong said his outfit is neither responsible for the allocation of parcels of land nor in charge of demolition unauthorized structures in the municipality.
The office is liaising with the building inspectorate unit because they are supposed to check these contraventions, but it is the duty of the building inspector to make sure that those who are putting up structures conform to the layout and also have the approved building permit. So the office is working hand in hand with the building inspectors to resolve these issues.
He however admitted that such a case was reported to his office. When the news team got to the Wengie Municipal Building Inspection Directorate, there was no staff available for comment. Our cameras also captured this man writing on the building purported to have been constructed without permits. Nesta Kafui Ajoma's report for Joy News from the Brong-Ahafo region.
Away from Wengie, 6 people, including 2 women, are in the grips of the Wa police for allegedly attempting to traffic 25 children to Burkina Faso for ritual purposes. But some residents are demanding the release of the suspects, saying they were going for an initiation rite, which is common practice among the Lobi ethnic group in the region. Rafiq Salam sent in this report from Wa.
According to the Acting Public Relations Officer of the Upper West Regional Police Command, ASP Edmond Nyamiche, the children numbering 25 and aged between 6 and 15 years were seen seated under a mango tree around Wazongo, waiting for a vehicle to cross over to Burkina Faso. ASP Nyamiche said preliminary investigations revealed that the children are from Naha, a village close to Kumasa on the Wabamboy Road. All the children were clean-shaven. 6 middle-aged persons, including 2 women, who were arrested, are helping the police in their investigations.
For the purpose for shaving the children, we cannot establish why they are being shaved. Our concern is that we are going to unravel if the children are being trafficked to anti-human. As we know, trafficking now these days is on the ascendancy. So we are investigating to see the truth in it.
Meanwhile, some young men supposedly from the children's village stormed the police station demanding their release as well as that of the 6 suspects. According to them, the suspects had done no wrong, explaining the trip to Burkina Faso was an age-old practice akin to a pilgrimage where participants receive spiritual upliftment from the gods and return to the country with new names. Na Adam Stifri is one of the people who stormed the police station. He says detaining the children is an infringement on their fundamental human rights.
They should allow to go. To me, I see it that it's part of what their tradition. The Constitution even defends what our culture, and for belonging to any religion. They are just going there as a sign of what? Worship. So to me, I don't see any problem to just for sending them to that particular place for that particular what? Right to undertake. It isn't that they are sending them to use any one of them for any other human sacrifice. They are just going there to undertake what? Their cultural rights.
The children have since been released to return to their communities. From Wa, Rafiq Salam's report for Joy News.
You're still watching the Midday Brief here on Joy News. Stay with us because we have some interesting story about the CPP's regional chairman and constituency chairman, beg your pardon, in Kumbungu, who has been fired. We'll tell you from which of his positions right after this. Now, the Convention People's Party's chairman for Kumbungu constituency, Peter Ibrahim Nindo, has lost his job as the central accountant of the Lamashegu branch of the First Bank. According to him, he was sacked because of his involvement in the CPP's victory during the just-ended Kumbungu parliamentary by-election. Peter Ibrahim said he received the dismissal letter signed by the human resource manager of the First Bank on Thursday. Quote, I actually took 1 week leave to campaign for a candidate during the by-election. I resumed work just yesterday, and when I got to the office, my branch manager gave me a letter which indicated that my appointment has been terminated, unquote. Peter Nindo suspected political vendetta, saying, quote, there was no reason for the termination of my appointment, and I quickly asked my branch manager why, and he said the letter came from Accra, but told me it was because of my active involvement in the campaigns of our parliamentary candidate during the by-election. He threatened to seek legal redress because he had not committed any offense to warrant his dismissal. Let's come down from Kumbungu. Statistics available at the National Road Safety Commission indicate pedestrians are increasingly being exposed to life-threatening accidents on the country's roads. The figures show nearly half of road traffic-related deaths and injuries involve a pedestrian, a situation experts attribute mainly to the failure of road designs to factor their needs. To highlight the problem, the second UN Road Safety Week has been launched at the Abekala Pass intersection of the George Walker Bush Highway, where 30 people were killed in similar fashion in 2012 alone.
It was unanimous amongst the stakeholders involved in the launch that the pedestrian is the most vulnerable road user, especially because most of the other road users move more significantly faster than the pedestrian, who also have no bodily protection in the event of a collision or a crash. The incidence is said to be more pronounced in low-income and middle-income countries. Transport Minister Jifar Tivo, who launched the Road Safety Week at the Abekala Pass Medina station, says children, teenagers and the aged stand the greatest risks.
23% of all pedestrian deaths affect children, mostly of school-going age, under the age of 16, while 6% are under the age of 5. 73% of these deaths occur while pedestrians cross the road.
The inability to enforce the laws and the failure to empower the road users with the requisite knowledge to minimize the risk and reduce the fatalities has also been identified as another factor. The campaign for the Safety Week, dubbed Be Alert, Look Out for the Other Road Users, aims to address the numerous accidents recorded on that stretch of the motorway. According to the Transport Minister, her outfit is working with other partners to declare a fatality-free N1 highway.
We will visit your homes, offices, your palaces, terminals, churches, mosques, lorry parks, as we are here today, with the message, be alert, look out for other road users, so that together we can make the pedestrian the least vulnerable road user.
The Minister for Roads and Highways, Ahaji Amin Amidu Suleimana, entreated the general public to reprimand drivers who flout the laws.
Our passengers, particularly, when you are in vehicles and the driver is being reckless, please, it is your responsibility to save your lives. Just draw his attention that he's overspeeding. Even I do it to my driver. When you speed, I tell you, where are you going? I'm the one who have I told you I'm in a hurry.
The executive director of the National Road Safety Commission, Noble Lapia, also urged drivers to participate in such programs so they will be adequately informed.
No one is immune to road traffic crashes. We are vulnerable, irrespective of the type of vehicle you use. That's why it must not only be the Road Safety Commission or how very good your vehicle is, but every Ghanaian, every road user must be seen to be advocates for road safety, and it must start from us.
The MTTU boss, ACP Awuni, also encouraged drivers to be law-abiding.
I'm going to direct that drivers from this area, police must pay a very stringent eye on them because they are failing to listen to what we are telling them.
The authorities have promised to address the concerns raised by the drivers in the next 3 weeks.
A legal practitioner, Theodore Nzo Adimazoya, is proposing a merger of the Food and Drugs Authority and the Ghana Standards Authority. This, he says, will help clear doubts in the minds of consumers which of the two agencies has the final stamp of approval for a product. His proposal was contained in recommendations presented by the Consumer Protection Agency for inclusion in the draft Consumer Protection Policy.
The Consumer Protection Bill, when passed into law, will among others protect the rights of consumers. But according to the Consumer Protection Agency, there are some lapses in the draft policy document which must first be rectified. At a sensitization workshop on the draft bill, the agency pointed out that the consumer's right to safety, information and right to choose are not clearly spelled out in the draft. Theodore Adimazoya.
Because the bureaucratic structure of our institutions that are required to ensure that consumer interest is protected are very long, sometimes not taking into consideration the illiteracy rate in the country. One of the easiest ways that we can deal with it is to take away the monitoring and evaluation aspect and leave it to the institutions to deal with, and have the dispute settlement system on consumer complaints. Either it's in respect of financial activity, it's in respect of food, safety and products, or even in the banking sector or professional service delivery, that those things can be dealt by an institution that understands consumer rights, and not an institution that is mandated first to deal with monitoring of standards and at the same time ensure that remedies are provided for people who make complaints.
Theodore Adimazoya also argues the absence of a law specifying, for instance, which of the two agencies' logos consumers have to look out for when buying particular products leaves room for doubts. He thus suggested that the Food and Drugs Authority should be made to operate as a department under the Ghana Standards Authority.
The two entities, by their law, have provisions that requires them to deal with the same products. So while the Standards Authority law was passed in 1975, that allows them to do certification and standardization of food and drugs in Ghana, the Food and Drugs Board Act allows them to also do the same thing. So you see a lot of products in the market that either have both of them, their certification on it, or logos embossed, or they have one of it and it satisfies the requirement. One of the easiest way to deal with it is to have the Food and Drugs Board operate as a department under the Standards Authority, and that will require changing the legislation.
CEO of the Consumer Protection Agency, Kofi Kapito, said for the consumer public to be educated about their rights, there must first be a law to protect those rights.
Now, SIC Insurance has appointed Doris Awo Nkani as its managing director. Prior to her appointment, she was the acting managing director for the company, taking over from Benjamin Akolache, who was relieved of his position in May 2012. A statement from the company said her new appointment takes effect from April 30, 2013. Doris Awo Nkani is the first female MD of the company, which is the biggest insurance company. She brings on board over 29 years of experience in the industry. Awo Nkani is a chartered insurer and a fellow of the Insurance Institute of Ghana. She is also a lawyer and has held several top management positions in the insurance industry. Before her appointment as Deputy Managing Director Technical at SIC Insurance, she was the Managing Director of Phoenix Insurance Company Limited, where she helped to reposition the company in the insurance industry. Well, Well, reports reaching Joy News indicates that lead contractor of the Ghana Gas project, Sinopec, has resumed work at the gas processing plant at Atuabo. This follows a crunch meeting between Sinopec and officials of the Ghana National Gas Company. Sinopec earlier threatened to lay down their tools due to the inability of the Ghana Gas Company to pay them their due. For now, provision of funds for the gas project has been halted due to delays in the disbursement of the 3 billion China Development Bank loan. Stay with us. We take another break. We'll be right back with more. So now let's get you in tip-top shape in our wellness segment. Okay, in wellness today, with so many of us using computers at work, computer eye strain has become a major job-related complaint. Yeah, studies have shown that eye strain and other bothersome visual symptoms occur in 50 to 90% of computer workers. These problems can range from physical fatigue, decreased productivity, and increased number of work errors to minor annoyances like eye twitching. Here are some easy steps you can take to reduce the risk of computer eye strain and other common symptoms of computer vision syndrome, or CVS.
In this modern era of technology, computers, laptops and smartphones have become an integral part of life. Computer application knowledge has replaced typewriting skills in a job seeker's profile, and computers on every desk at modern workplaces have made typewriters obsolete. But staring at the bright screens of these gadgets can strain your eyes and raise many issues that could harm your vision. Here are some tips to save yourself from the computer eye strains and keep your eyes healthy even when you spend more than 10 hours a day staring at your monitor. Wear glasses with anti-reflective coating while working on the computer, even if one normally doesn't need corrective vision. Remind yourself to blink more often while working on the computer screen to prevent dryness of the eyes. Take 15 or 20 seconds rest break every 15 minutes. Use this time to just look around the room. Black characters on white background are usually the best. Avoid dark backgrounds. The size of the smallest text should be 3 times the size of the smallest text you can read. The presence of dust may cause light from the screen to be scattered, which may lead to discomfort, and so keep your computer screen free of dust.
Well, now let's get ready to get into the sporting world, kind courtesy of Tigo. In international business, the chairman of the Royal Bank of Scotland, RBS, Sir Philip Hampton, says the bank will be ready to return to the private sector next year. In a video statement posted on the bank's website, Sir Philip said he expected the government to start selling shares from the middle of 2014. His comments came as RBS reported a return to profit for the first 3 months of the year. It made a pre-tax profit of £826 million after raking up losses last year. RBS lost £1.5 billion in the first quarter of 2012 and £2.2 billion in the final 3 months of last year, but investors reacted negatively. And that's it for the Midday Brief. But before we go, a second look at our headline stories. Today is World Press Freedom Day, and we've been gauging journalists' reaction to the day, what they expect of the day, what they make of the day, and its relevance. And of course, we asked you also to share your comments with us on our Facebook wall. And so keep the debate going on over there. I was also joined in the studio by my colleague Emmanuel Lante, who shared some light on what his expectations are of the media fraternity as we commemorate World Press Freedom Day today. Also, President John Mahama will scheduled to inaugurate the first phase of the Bui hydroelectric power project at Bui in the Brong Ahafo region today. And also, the police in Wa have arrested 6 persons, including 2 women, for allegedly attempting to traffic 25 children to Burkina Faso for ritual purposes. That's it. My name is Nia Kofi Smatabe. Enjoy the rest of the week and do stay tuned to Joy News for more news updates on the hour. Good afternoon.